My brother accused me of faking my disability. Get up, he pushed me. But my doctor spoke. 5 words stopped everything. I sued him for $120,000. At our family gathering, my brother pushed me out of my wheelchair. Quit pretending to get attention. I lay on the ground and they all laughed. They were unaware that my doctor was directly behind them. After clearing his throat, he uttered the 5 words that put a stop to everything. First my hands, then my shoulder, and finally my head were struck by the concrete. The world slanted sideways and remained there, but not so forcefully that it blacked out. I hadn't touched the beer cooler, but the backyard was whirling like I was intoxicated. There were 45 individuals staring, some laughing, and some filming. Over me, my brother Luke stood with 2 beers, a red face from righteous rage, and a heaving chest. He yelled, "Stop faking for attention," for everyone to hear. I lay on my aunt's patio's sun-baked concrete, loud enough for the neighbors 3 homes down to hear the axe getting old. Jordan. One wheel of my wheelchair continued to spin slowly in the July heat as it tipped on its side 1.5 feet distant. I felt a sharp agony shoot up my back as my right leg was twisted at an angle. Over the previous 24 months I had learned to cope with this type of suffering. The kind that caused the corners of my vision to go white. Around me, the family reunion went on as if I were a fallen piece of lawn furniture. The country music was turned up by someone. A child sprinted by, pursuing a wiffle ball. The harsh, coppery taste of blood from where I bit my tongue, combined with the fragrance of burgers on the grill and freshly cut grass. "Get up, Jordan," replied Luke. And I could hear the vindication and joy in his voice. Everyone is observing. It's time to end the act. I made an effort to motivate myself. My arms trembled. My palms had been rubbed raw by the concrete. My left hand's meat had small gravel fragments stuck in it, and blood was pooling up around them like garnets. Luke said, "Look at him," turning to speak to our gathered family members as if he were a prosecutor. This concluded his argument. Since the accident that no one actually witnessed, he has been taking use of this wheelchair thing for the past 1.5 years. My mother answered. I was there, from among the people. She spoke in a shaky, unsure voice. The voice of someone who'd been beaten down by 1.5 years of family gatherings exactly like this one. Luke clarified. "You found him at the bottom of the stairs." The throng whispered. "Agreement? Consideration? That makes sense, doesn't it?" My cousin Caleb, 23, who worked at Best Buy and was still living with his parents, came forward from the family circle. "That's not the same thing as witnessing it. For all we know, he threw himself down on purpose." Heads nodded as the whispering grew louder. "Dude, I've seen him walk at the Jewel Oscar on Roosevelt Road last month. He was in the cereal aisle." Naturally, I was aware of it. I've always thought it was physical therapy. My voice came out smaller than I planned, but I managed from the ground. Weaker. I informed everyone about Rush's outpatient program. Yes, it was. Luke cut me off. My wheelchair was kicked by him. Like a bell, the aluminum frame rang. "Meanwhile, you've been collecting disability checks and living in mom's basement rent-free for 1.5 years, playing video games, ordering DoorDash on her credit card, living the dream while the rest of us work for a living." "Because I can't work." Luke's face was so close that I could smell the barbecue sauce and alcohol. "Because you won't work." My dad's younger brother, Uncle Michael, who sold insurance, drove a Lexus, and spoke about personal responsibility at every holiday, took out his Samsung Galaxy and held it up as if he were recording a crime scene. "There's a difference, little brother." His words. "I'm recording this." I searched for anyone who could provide support. For evidence. We've all been enabling this behavior for too long. It's time someone stood up for the truth. My mother was wringing her hands while standing close to the picnic table. My mom's sister, my Aunt Rachel, who had planned this reunion and urged that I go despite my 3 unsuccessful cancellation attempts, stood with her arms folded and her lips pursed in condemnation. My grandma watched me like I was a bad TV show while she sat in her lawn chair beneath the oak tree and fannied herself with a paper plate. No one stepped forward to assist. I said, "The doctors said, first." Luke cut in. "The doctors said, maybe." He was enjoying himself now, playing to the audience and gaining their interest. "Maybe you'll walk again. Maybe it's permanent. Maybe. 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 You've been dining out on maybe for 1.5 years while mom bankrupts herself trying to fix you." My grandma added, "He does look awfully comfortable in that chair," loud enough for everyone to hear. "Like he's been practicing. Because I'm in it 12 hours a day by choice." Luke took my wallet out of the pocket of my jacket where I had landed. Displayed it as proof. I opened it. See this disability card? $750 a month. Plus, Mom pays for everything else. Rent, food, medical supplies, special equipment. I have medical bills. I felt my throat tighten. I had trembling hands. It wasn't limited to the fall either. You have excuses. My wallet was thrown at me by him. It fell open as it struck my chest. Staring up at me is my driver's license. The old picture of me standing unsupported for the DMV camera. The gravy train ends today. Jordan, right here, right now. The audience began to applaud. Luke actually clapped as if he had just finished a speech from a sports film about persevering through hardship by being tenacious and not giving up. Mom eventually came forward, but her voice lacked conviction. Luke, that's enough. Instead of giving directions, she seemed like she was requesting permission. Luke's tone softened as he spoke to her, saying, "No, Mom, he's bleeding you dry." Went tenderly and thoughtfully. Physical therapy 3 times a week. Special equipment. That modified van you bought. You took out a second mortgage for him on a house you've lived in for 30 years. You're 62 years old, and you'll be paying that off until you're 80. Mom's cheeks flushed. She didn't dispute it. The second mortgage was unknown to me. When I said, "I didn't ask her to," "You didn't stop her either," Luke used his finger as a weapon to point at me. "You just kept taking, kept bleeding her dry, kept playing the victim while everyone else sacrificed for you." He squatted down and pressed himself against my face. Quietly. "Stand up right now," he murmured. "Or I'm calling the police for disability fraud, insurance fraud, whatever fraud applies. You'll go to jail, Jordan." And honestly, that might be better for everyone. I can't. My leg was hurting more and more. The kind of agony that indicated I had ripped something, moved something, or broken something that would require weeks of extra therapy and thousands of dollars to repair. The whole family began chanting, "Stand up. Stand up. Stand up." 50 voices, possibly more. The neighbors had arrived to observe. Children were using their phones to record. Like a cheerleader, my Aunt Rachel was leading the chant with rhythmic clapping. There was nothing else I could do, so I remained on the ground. Since it had been 24 months since I had complete sensation in my right leg. Because some movements were impossible due to the rods in my spine. Because all of Luke's words, all of the brutality, all of the charges, all of the venom, came from ignorance, and a lack of interest in understanding. Every heartbeat made my leg hurt. Luke took hold of my shirt and pulled me halfway to the top. "I'm done watching you manipulate everyone. You're a liar and a con artist and that's my patient. You're assaulting." The chanting ceased. Everything came to a halt. Luke's hold on my shirt relaxed but remained firm. A man emerged from the throng. He was an Asian man in his mid-50s, dressed in khakis and a navy polo shirt, wearing wire-rimmed glasses, and holding a can of Diet Coke. He appeared to have been enjoying the show the entire time, which I realized he had. He had a well-composed expression. Luke abandoned me. I struck the concrete once more. Luke demanded, "Who the hell are you?" After saying, "Dr. Samuel Hayes," he sipped his Diet Coke. The audience fell silent as the speaker said, "Jordan's orthopedic surgeon," among other things. A dog was barking 3 yards away, the burgers were sizzling on the grill, and the country music was still coming from a Bluetooth speaker. I'm also his physical therapist, his pain management specialist, and I consult with his neurologist Dr. Emily Carter, at Northwestern Memorial. I've been treating Jordan since approximately 47 hours after his accident 24 months ago. Rachel, my aunt, chuckled. It sounded anxious. Shrimp. "Well, doctor, you must be very proud. Your patient can apparently walk just fine when nobody's looking." Dr. Hayes grinned. His eyes were not reached. He answered, "Actually," and took out his iPhone. He put it out and said, "I have something everyone should see." The screen was loaded with X-rays. He zoomed in with 2 fingers and said, "This is Jordan's lumbar spine, specifically his L4 and L5 vertebrae. See these metal rods? 4 of them, and these screws, 14 total. That's from his spinal fusion surgery performed by me 14 months ago at Rush University Medical Center. The surgery took 7 hours. The recovery took 6 months." No one spoke. Luke had become motionless. Jordan is able to stand during physical therapy sessions because we are using a walker to help him gradually educate his body to manage small distances. He can currently move about 47 meters before the nerve damage makes it so painful that he needs to rest right away. That's about 5 minutes of mobility. After that, the damaged nerves start to fire incorrectly, and he gets what we call neuropathic pain, Imagine someone shocking you with a cattle prod and driving nails into your leg at the same time. He swiped to another image. He indicated a darker, injured spot on the screen and said, "Here's his sciatic nerve, right side. See this area here? His right leg has limited proprioception, which is the sense of where your body is in space, and he is unable to bear a lot of weight for extended periods of time because of irreversible nerve damage from the accident." My cousin Caleb had retreated from the circle and vanished in the direction of the house. The nerve misfires. Sometimes his leg just gives out. No warning. The orthotic brace he wears, the one that costs $3,500 and isn't fully covered by insurance, provides stability, but it's not a cure. There is no cure. This is his life now. The level of Dr. Hayes' voice did not change. Clinical. He looked straight at Luke, but he was obviously acting. Every day is painful. Every step is uncertain. Every moment in that wheelchair is a reminder of what he's lost. In order for everyone to see, Dr. Hayes raised his phone. Then he swiped once more. This is a video I recorded approximately 7 minutes ago, starting from when I arrived at this lovely family gathering. He hit the play button. It was Luke who spoke via the speaker. The chanting, the laughter, the sound of me hitting the concrete. Stop faking for attention. Dr. Hayes paused it after 30 seconds of playback. Calmly. "I recorded everything," he said. "The assault, the verbal abuse, the crowd participation, the public humiliation of a disabled man by his own family." He glanced at Michael, my uncle. Uncle Michael's phone was still running and recording when he said, "You're not the only one gathering evidence today." Now his hand was trembling. Luke fell backward and collided with the picnic table. The evidence appeared to be, we all thought. In a chilly tone, Dr. Hayes said, "You thought wrong. You didn't think at all. You didn't ask questions. You didn't request medical records. You didn't consult with his doctors. You didn't bother to understand what your brother has been enduring for over 1.5 years. You just assumed he was lying because it was easier than accepting that sometimes terrible things happen to good people and there's no one to blame." With the familiar ease that came from years of patient care, he knelt next to me. I nodded and asked, "Can you move, Jordan?" "Seldom." "Rate your pain. 1 to 10. 8, I said in a whisper. "Perhaps 9. He used soft expert hands to inspect my leg, felt around the ankle and knee. His face grew serious. He glanced up at the throng and said, "Possible ligament damage. We'll need imaging. Someone get his wheelchair now." My mother was the first to move. She moved the chair to the side. She was sobbing without making a sound, her tears running down her cheeks. With the meticulous accuracy that comes from having done this 1,000 times, Dr. Hayes assisted me in getting back into the chair. His hands were capable and soft. The audience remained motionless. Now several were crying. The majority gazed at their feet. Fanning herself was no longer my grandmother's habit. Dr. Hayes stood up straight and spoke to everyone. "I came here today because Jordan asked me to," he said, his voice echoing around the yard. He knew this confrontation was coming. He's heard the whispers, seen the looks. His brother has been building to this for months. The Facebook posts questioning his disability. The comments at Christmas. The jokes at Easter about how convenient his condition is. Luke's jaw dropped. There was no sound. Dr. Hayes looked around at everyone and said, "Jordan wanted me here because he knew his family didn't believe him." And he was right. He took a business card out of his wallet and gave it to Luke, saying, "So he asked me, his doctor, his surgeon, the man who cut open his back and installed metal in his spine to keep him from becoming paralyzed, to attend this reunion, to watch, to document. That's my lawyer's contact information. Her name is Jennifer Wu. She's a partner at Kirkland & Ellis. Specializes in disability rights litigation. I'll be filing a police report tomorrow for assault of a disabled person, along with a civil lawsuit for battery, assault, and intentional infliction of emotional distress." Luke gazed at the business card as if it were a potential threat. "My testimony as his treating physician will be, I suspect, fairly compelling in court. I have complete documentation of his injuries, his surgeries, his therapy progress. I have notes from every appointment. I have the X-rays, the MRIs, the nerve conduction studies. I have 1.5 years of medical evidence that proves beyond any doubt that Jordan is disabled." He looked at Uncle Michael. "I also have your video, the one you recorded for evidence. I'm grateful for that. It demonstrates a plot to threaten a disabled individual. Potentially baseless charges of fraud. Harassment of a group. I've added that video to my evidence file." Uncle Michael was now gray-faced. Once more, Dr. Hayes spoke to the whole audience. Everybody who took part in that shout is captured on camera. Everyone who chuckled. Everyone used their phones to record this. Everyone who looked on helplessly as his own brother attacked and degraded a crippled man. He hesitated. This account about a handicapped veteran makes me worry how that will be received in court or on the news. Yes, prior to his tragedy, Jordan had been in the National Guard for 4 years. At a reunion, his family attacked him because they believed he was acting. Local news stations are enamored with stories like that. Luke began, "He's not a veteran. Army National Guard 2016 to 2020. Honorable discharge. Medical records are part of the VA system, which makes this a potential federal case." The smile on Dr. Hayes' face was piercing. "Did you know assaulting a disabled veteran can carry enhanced penalties? Jordan requested me to attend this event last week, and I didn't know either until my lawyer gave me the rundown." Dead quiet. On the grill the burgers were blazing. No one shifted to turn them over. My wallet was still on the concrete when Dr. Hayes handed it to me. Then he grabbed the grips of my wheelchair and walked behind it. "We're leaving now," he declared. "I will be recording Jordan's visit to the emergency room as an assault-related injury. The civil suit will include the medical bills. He had damage to his orthotic braces. That's $3,500 more. The frame of his wheelchair is bent. Another $2,500. We'll total it up." He began shoving me in the direction of the driveway. 45 family members were standing in the same circle behind us. Realizing that the nephew they had just humiliated for pretending to be disabled had just filmed all of them committing several felonies, the same people who had yelled for me to rise up, labeled me a liar, and cheered my brother for attacking me. "Wait," Luke said in a broken voice. I didn't turn back and said, "Wait, Jordan, I'm sorry. I didn't know. We didn't know," Dr. Hayes persisted. We arrived at the van, a modified Honda Odyssey equipped with a wheelchair ramp, which my mother had in fact obtained by taking out a second mortgage. "Jordan, please." After efficiently assisting me into the passenger seat, Dr. Hayes collapsed the wheelchair and put it in the rear. He started the engine and climbed into the driver's seat. Luke rushed towards my window and rapped on it. I looked at my brother, who I'd shared a bedroom with for 15 years, who had taught me how to ride a bike, who had been my best man at my wedding prior to the divorce, and who had just pushed me out of my wheelchair in front of our entire extended family because he thought I was acting, and I said, "Jordan, please, I'm sorry." I lowered the window by 2 inches. I whispered, "You want to know the worst part?" Luke gave a frantic nod. "After my operation, I phoned you 3 times, left voicemails, texted you, and invited you to doctor's visits so you could hear the prognosis firsthand. You never answered, and you assumed I was lying without ever requesting evidence. Instead of thinking I was harmed, you choose to think I was a phony." I simply said no. I rolled up the window and remarked, "You didn't think. That's the problem." Driven out of the driveway was Dr. Hayes. For a Sunday night, the Northwestern Memorial Emergency Department was packed. Within 20 minutes, Dr. Hayes had me in an exam room after guiding me through triage and speaking with Dr. Rebecca Martinez, the attending physician, whom he reportedly knew from medical conferences. My right knee's X-ray revealed a damaged lateral collateral ligament. On Wednesday, there will be another procedure. Another setback in the lengthy, excruciating process of trying to regain some portion of my movement. Another 6 weeks of recuperation. As we awaited the orthopedic specialist's analysis of the images, Dr. Hayes sat with me. I questioned, "Why did you really come today?" He remained silent for a while. "Because I've treated patients with spinal injuries for 27 years, he concluded, and I've watched families destroy themselves over it. Watched them fracture. Watched caregivers burn out, watched disabled patients get abandoned because it's easier to believe they're faking than to accept that life is random and cruel, and sometimes there's no villain to blame. So, you came to help me prove them wrong. I came to document the truth." He repositioned his glasses. "The police complaint was filed Monday morning. What they do with that truth is their choice. But at least now they can't claim ignorance." I received a call Tuesday afternoon from Detective Luis Gonzalez of the Northbrook Police Department, who has been with the department for 23 years and has experience handling assault cases. "Mr. Thompson, I've reviewed the video evidence, Dr. Hayes' statement, the medical records. This is pretty clear-cut. Your brother pushed you out of your wheelchair, causing additional injury. That's aggravated battery against a disabled person. Class 2 felony. What happens now?" "We'll issue a warrant. He'll be arrested, probably arraigned within 48 hours. Given the circumstances and the video evidence, The state's attorney will likely press charges even if you don't want to pursue it. I paused and said, I don't know what I want. You don't have to decide now. But Mr. Thompson, families like yours, they don't change unless there are consequences. Real consequences. Legal consequences. He was correct. I knew that he was correct. Luke was still my brother though. Luke was taken into custody on Wednesday morning and released on bond by Wednesday afternoon. On Thursday, I received a call from his attorney, a man from his gym who handled personal injury claims. My client wants to apologize, wants to make this right. If you'd be willing to drop the charges, I'm not pressing charges. I said the state is. Talk to the state's attorney. Right. But if you testified that it was a misunderstanding, it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was assault recorded by multiple cameras, witnessed by 45 people. There's no ambiguity here. He's your brother. He pushed me out of my wheelchair because he decided I was faking a disability. That's not brother behavior. That's criminal behavior. I ended the call. On Friday, the civil lawsuit was filed. Dr. Hayes recommended me to Jennifer Wu, a 54-year-old Harvard Law graduate who has spent 22 years specializing in disability rights. She sat across from me in her downtown office overlooking the Chicago River. We're suing Luke for battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress. But there's a larger case here. What do you mean? Your Uncle Michael, your Aunt Rachel, everyone who participated in that chant. They created a hostile environment. They conspired to harass and intimidate you. That's actionable under disability rights law. You want me to sue my entire family? I want you to send a message. Jennifer bent over. I've dealt with hundreds of these instances, Jordan. Family members who believe the disabled person is faking mistreat them. It's more prevalent than you might think, and it nearly never ends well since the disabled person is alone, financially reliant, and afraid of losing their support network. Thus, they remain silent. They remain silent. She gave a nod. But you have something most of them don't. You have medical documentation. You have a surgeon willing to testify. You have video evidence. You have the ability to make this public to change the narrative. I just wanted them to believe me. With a piercing smile, Jennifer said, They believe you now. The story appeared on local news that weekend with the headline, Now we make sure they never forget it. At a family reunion, a brother attacked a disabled soldier. Everything was recorded by the doctor. By Monday, the video had gone viral. Not the entire thing. Luke's and my faces were the only ones that Dr. Hayes had removed. But enough. Luke's words, the chanting, the shove, and the fall. It received 2.5 million views by Tuesday. It was covered by national news by Wednesday. By Thursday, Good Morning America began contacting me for interviews. I turned them all down. I had no desire to be well known. I wanted to be taken seriously. Luke's life collapsed long before his trial, which was scheduled for 5 months from now. Within a week he was sacked by his job, a construction company that took pride in workplace safety and accommodations for those with disabilities. Liability concerns, they announced. His girlfriend broke up with him saying, We can't have someone who abuses disabled people representing our company. His pals ceased phoning. Everywhere he went, the video followed him. Eventually, he would Google his name and discover it in every job interview, dating profile, and new acquaintance he made. The man who pushed his crippled brother out of a wheelchair is Luke Thompson. 3 weeks after the reunion, my mother gave me a call. He's living in his car, she remarked. Lost his apartment. Can't find work. Jordan, he's your brother. Can't you do something? Talk to the prosecutor. Ask them to drop the charges. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding. Mom, he made a mistake. He assaulted me in front of 45 people while I was already disabled. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. So you're just going to destroy his life? Your own brother? I gave that some serious thinking. No, I responded at last. I'm going to let him experience consequences for his actions. There's a difference. Without saying goodbye, she hung up. 4 months later, the settlement was reached. In addition to 2 years of probation, community service, anger management classes, and a suspended sentence that would kick in if Luke broke his probation, Luke entered a guilty plea to aggravated violence. In addition to medical expenditures, grief and suffering, future therapy costs and punitive damages, the civil claim was resolved for $120,000. Luke would spend the rest of his life repaying it. On the day the settlement was finalized, Jennifer Wu gave me a call. You won, she concluded. Doesn't feel like winning. It never does. But you sent a message to your family, to everyone watching, that disabled people matter. That assault has consequences. That you can't just push someone out of a wheelchair because you've decided their suffering is inconvenient. He's broke, homeless, his life is ruined, he ruined his own life, you just documented it. 6 months later, I happened to run across Luke. Luke was waiting in the lobby, wearing a different shirt, thinner and strangely older than me. I was at physical therapy, the same outpatient facility at Rush where my cousin Caleb had allegedly seen me walking in the Jewel Oscar. When he spotted me, he got up and then sat down again. Wheeling over, I did so. I said, "What are you doing here?" "Court-ordered community service. I volunteer in the rehab wing, helping patients with mobility exercises." I didn't know what to say. "That's good, I guess." According to Luke, "I meet a lot of people like you," he remarked softly. "People with spinal injuries, nerve damage, chronic pain, people who look fine on the outside but are fighting every day just to exist." At last, he turned to face me. "I'm sorry, Jordan. I'm so sorry. I didn't understand. I didn't try to understand. I just decided you were lying because it was easier than accepting that you were really hurt." "I know, do you?" he asked in a broken voice. "Do you think you'll ever forgive me?" I gave the question a lot of thinking. Pain for about 24 months. Regarding the family get-together, 45 or so people were chanting for me to get up. Regarding Luke's expression when Dr. Hayes displayed the X-rays, the settlement funds that covered my future, my medical expenses, and my customized van. About my brother, who had beaten me, lived in his car. I responded, "I don't know," at last. "Ask me again in a year." Luke gave a nod. "That's fair." Luke asked me again a year later. I had moved to Evanston for specialized nerve stimulation treatment, and we were at a separate physical therapy clinic there. Luke had also relocated there. Had an apartment, was reconstructing his life piece by piece, and was now working as a paid help. He said, "Do you forgive me?" And I knew the answer this time. "I forgive you for not understanding, for not asking questions, for believing I was lying without proof." I glanced at him. "You forced me out of that wheelchair, embarrassed me in front of our family, and chose cruelty over compassion, and I don't forgive you for that. I doubt I'll ever be able to forgive you for that." Luke gave a slow nod. "That's fair too." But I went on. "I see you trying. I see you working with other patients. I see you learning. I see you becoming someone who understands what I've been living with. That matters. Does it change anything?" "It changes everything. You're not the same person who pushed me. I'm not the same person who got pushed. We're both different now." "Better?" "Different." I began to rotate in the direction of the exit. But maybe different is enough. I received an invitation to speak at a disability rights conference in Springfield 2 years after the reunion. I was recommended by Dr. Hayes. The organizers wanted to know about my experience, about fighting back, about the value of documentation, and about family members who don't believe. I nearly declined. Then I considered about the people in wheelchairs who are currently coping with families that believe they are lying, who are subjected to the same suspicion, the same harshness, and the same loneliness. I replied, yes. It was a 20-minute speech. I told them everything. Luke pushing me, Dr. Hayes coming forth with evidence, the fall down the stairs, the surgery, the months of rehabilitation, the family reunion, and the aftermath. The room was quiet after I was done. And then there was clapping. The convention center erupted in thunderous applause as everyone, including those who were able to stand, stood up. After a 30-something woman came up to me. She too was in a wheelchair. She said it was multiple sclerosis. "My family thinks I'm faking," she stated to me. "They say MS isn't real, that I'm just depressed, that I need to try harder." "Do you have medical documentation?" 3 neurologists, brain scans, everything. "Show them, make them look, make them understand that their ignorance is not your burden to carry." She broke down in tears. "What if they still don't believe?" I answered, "Then you document it. And you protect yourself because you matter. Your pain matters. Your disability matters. And anyone who can't accept that doesn't deserve access to you." She gave me a tight hug and hung on for a while. As she withdrew, she remarked, "Thank you for fighting back, for showing us it's possible." My mother called 3 years after the reunion. She said, "The family wants to have another gathering, with caution. Thanksgiving, small, just immediate family. Luke will be there. They're hoping. We're hoping you might come. Will anyone apologize?" Quiet. I had that thought. "Jordan, they feel terrible about what happened. Feeling terrible isn't the same as apologizing. Isn't the same as acknowledging what they did. Isn't the same as changing. Can't you just? No, I firmly answered. I can't just get over it. I can't just move on. I can't just pretend it didn't happen because it's uncomfortable for everyone else. They destroyed me in front of 45 people. They called me a liar and a con artist and a burden. They chanted for me to stand up. They filmed it and laughed. And now they want me to come to Thanksgiving like nothing happened. So you're saying no? I'm arguing that they should provide genuine apologies for specific offenses, rather than just saying, we're sorry if we offended you, but also saying, I'm sorry I chanted. I'm sorry I laughed. Everyone who took part owes me that. I'm sorry I called you a liar. I'm sorry I filmed you on the ground. I'm sorry I didn't help you. That's a lot to ask. It's the minimum to ask. I spoke steadily. I was also part of their family. They were meant to keep me safe. Rather, they assaulted me. They haven't changed if they are unable to take responsibility for it and offer an apology. Furthermore, I have no desire to sit at a table with individuals who believe that my disability is negotiable. Mom remained silent for a while. I'll tell them, she responded at last. 3 persons expressed regret. 45 out of 45. The aunt who had stood in the back sobbing during the chanting was my Aunt Rachel, not Linda. She sent a 5-page handwritten letter outlining her mistakes, their reasons and the lessons she had subsequently learned. I received a card and a donation to the disability rights group I currently volunteer with from my cousin Lily, Caleb's younger sister, who was 16 at the time and hadn't taken part. And on a Tuesday afternoon, Luke unexpectedly knocked on my door and showed up at my flat. I replied. He held a folder as he stood there. He stated, I've been working with Dr. Hayes, without introducing himself. Learning about spinal injuries, nerve damage, chronic pain management. I've been volunteering at Rush for 2 years now, doing mobility exercises with patients, learning their stories. He extended the folder. These are letters from 12 people I've worked with, people like you, people I've helped. They all agreed to let me show you. I wanted you to see that I've changed, that I understand now, that I've spent 2 years trying to become someone worthy of your forgiveness. I grabbed the folder but haven't opened it yet. Luke went on. I'm sorry I pushed you out of your wheelchair, but his voice broke. I apologize for leading the chant and for calling you a liar. I apologize for not believing you, for not questioning you, for letting my anger about your disability and how it affected Mom's life and our family turn into hatred, and for choosing cruelty over compassion. You didn't deserve that. You were already in pain. And I made it worse. I'm sorry I looked at my brother, at the man who destroyed me. At the man who spent 2 years rebuilding himself. Come in, I said. We spent 3 hours discussing the reunion, the fallout, his time spent homeless, learning how to work with patients who have disabilities, seeing me and everyone he assisted, and truly comprehending what I had lost. He turned back to the door as he left. I don't expect you to forgive me, he replied. I know what I did. I know I can't undo it. But I want you to know I'm different now. Better because of you. You're different because of you. I said. Because you chose to change. But Luke, don't make me your redemption story. Don't make my disability the thing that taught you empathy. That's not fair to me. Slowly, he nodded. You're right. I'm sorry. You're right. Following his departure, I opened the packet and read all 12 of the letters. All of which were from people Luke had assisted. Each one explains his understanding, tenderness, and patience. Each one is a tiny bit of proof that people can change, that cruelty need not be permanent, and that those who harm us can occasionally, though not always, be better. I could see Luke clearly now, but I wasn't sure whether I would ever be able to forgive him completely. Not as the antagonist in my tale, but as someone who had made a bad decision and had to live with the fallout for years. Someone who had caused me much pain and was making a sincere effort to improve. Perhaps that was sufficient. It might have been.